The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Welcome to Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I'm Rob Denninger, and I'm here with Jack DeGraw, and as always, we're talking Yankees baseball. How you doing, Jack?
Good. How are you this afternoon, Robert?
Not too bad. The Yankees start a 3-game series, the Mariners tonight after getting swept by the Cardinals. You think there's a chance they could turn things around?
Well, I mean, Toronto's starting to chip away at them, so I mean, it's about time they win a series, they win a few games, because it could get kind of interesting in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at their record, and in August they're 1-5. In the second half of the season so far, they're 6-11, and since July 1st, they're 14-18. Luckily, they built up a big lead in the first half, but they've been struggling lately.
Yeah, I mean, all the things that were going right the first 70, 75 games, the clutch hitting, the great starting pitching, the great relief pitching, I mean, the timely hitting, they're just not doing that now. And, at this point, over the last 40 games, they just haven't been a very good team.
No, and it's like in this 5-game losing streak, their starters ERA is well over 5 runs a game. And they need to get more depth and better pitching from their starters.
Yeah, they've just been very, very inconsistent. They've been up and down, and they're just not not doing the job right now. So hopefully they got to turn it around.
They got Jameson Taylor going tonight. He's 10-2, but he's going up against a guy named Gilbert, who's also got 10 wins and an ERA just above 3. So the Yankees will be facing a guy who's having a good season so far on the mound.
Yeah, the Mariners are in the playoff hunt too. So they got their work cut out for them the next 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, they're playing a lot of good teams.
Yeah, the one guy who's not struggling though is Aaron Judge. He's continuing to have an MVP season. I mean, he's now got his batting average back over 300 at 301. He's on pace for 65 home runs. He's got 43 now, along with 97 RBIs, which the home runs and RBIs lead the major leagues, along with a few other stats. Yeah,
I mean, he's won so many games for them this year, with clutch hits in the 9th inning, and he's probably won 6-7 games just with clutch hits late in the game. So I mean, if they didn't have him, who knows where they would be.
Yeah, and also another guy who's starting to heat up is DJ LeMahieu. He's got his batting average up to almost 290 now. And if we get him going, keep going the way he is, at least we got a couple guys in the lineup that, could be productive.
Yeah, LeMahieu's really been, he's been hitting the ball hard all over. And I mean, he's an exceptional hitter. When he's on, I mean, he can hit anybody. He'll take the outside pitch, he'll pull it and it'll go to right field. And I mean, he'll take the outside pitch and go to right field.
Yeah.
And he can pull the ball. I mean, he sprays the ball all over. He's just, an excellent hitter.
Yeah. And the one guy right now, Rizzo, having him out hurts because he provides Aaron Judge with some protection batting behind him. And he's got 27 home runs on the year, and he was starting to heat up before he got hurt. I guess we'll find out tonight if he's playing or not.
Yeah, as of right now, I mean, it's 50-50, and if he's having back problems, they're hard to get rid of. And I mean, with him out of the lineup and Stanton out of the lineup, the other guys have got to start to step up. And as of right now, Torres has been struggling a little, and Hicks, even though he had a good game yesterday, has been struggling, and Josh Donaldson, has got to step up, but he hasn't really had that good of a year. And I mean, now missing Hicks and not missing Stanton and Rizzo, it just, stands out even more.
Yeah, because, I mean, Hicks is only batting .226 on the year. Donaldson's batting .222. I thought he'd be much better than that. And so right now, I mean, they've got Carpenter, who's been batting behind Judge, but his average has come down a little bit. But that's to be expected.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, Donaldson gets up in a lot of clutch situations. And as of recently, he hasn't really come through with many clutch hits. I mean, Rizzo got a low average, but he gets a lot of big hits.
Yeah,
and Rizzo's just fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, Rizzo's got almost 70 RBIs to go along with 27 homers. And he gets on base a lot too. And you're right, he comes out with a lot of clutch hits, Rizzo.
Yeah, I mean, Robert, we really didn't get a chance to talk about the trades the Yankees got. You want to talk a little bit about them?
Yeah, I knew they were going to go out and get a starter and maybe a relief pitcher, but I didn't expect them to trade Jordan Montgomery. I mean, that took me by surprise, and apparently it really took him by surprise too.
Yeah, I think one of the things I was reading, the Yankees thought they had something in place with the Marlins to get one of their starters.
Yeah,
and it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, you needed pitching, and you got a very good pitcher in Montos, even though he stunk yesterday. But you give away a guy like Montgomery who's been effective. I mean, he's pitched really well. Yeah,
and he was always among the league leaders and swing and misses. And Cashman did say after they traded Montgomery, they were still looking to add another starter. So I think you're right with Miami. I think they were hoping to acquire another starter. Otherwise they might have not traded Montgomery.
Yeah, and I mean, the guy they got, Bader. I mean, he can cover some ground, and he can run. He steals bases. He's a decent hitter, but you don't know if you're going to have him back till mid-September. So, you hopefully Herman will be able to step it up.
Yeah, and even when Bader's ready to play, he hasn't been with the team. There's a chemistry thing. Will he fit? How will he fit in? What would his role be? You'd like to have some of that shored up before the postseason starts. Yeah,
and with the way they've been doing things with the bullpen, I mean, you see how much they miss Chad Green and Michael King.
Yeah, right. I mean, especially Michael King, the way he came on this year. I mean, Clay Holmes, he's been struggling a little bit closing out games. We were talking off air. His last 3 save opportunities, he's blown 2 of them.
Well, one of the things I've noticed is he's been walking a lot of guys.
Yeah.
And earlier in the year, he'd have a lot of 9, 10, 12, 14 pitch innings. And he's been he's been a little wild. He's hit some guys, and he just this is the first time, in a high-pressure situation with the Yankees, you don't know if he's just wearing down a little bit.
Yeah, because in his last 7 1/3 innings, he's walked 8 batters. He's hit 3 of them, and he's given up 9 runs on 8 hits. And his whip is 2.18, and teams are batting about 270 off of him. So he's been struggling his last, several outings.
Yeah, hopefully, they got that new guy from the Cubs, Scott Efos, or I can't pronounce the name right now.
Yeah.
And they got the other guy from Oakland who was their closer, and he struggled a little bit. He was starting to come on it late, but they still got some questions in the bullpen right now.
Yeah, and you mentioned Domingo Germán before. In his 4 starts, he's given up 10 runs, but 6 of those 10 runs came in his first start, and since then, he's only given up 4 runs in his last 3 outings, and he's starting to, I think, get more comfortable as each start comes up. I mean, if he can pitch like he's capable of, I mean, he could really help the rotation out going forward.
Yeah, right now you need some guys to step up because they've been struggling.
Yeah, I mean, Domingo Germán, his rookie year, won 18 games. I think he had he had double-digit wins the first half of that season, and kind of, got tired, but he still won 18 games his rookie year, and I think he's a very capable starter.
Yeah, well, now is the time to do it. And another concern, Robert, I mean, Teleon's been struggling a little bit lately.
Yeah.
And, Cole is still an outstanding pitcher, but he's not really like he hasn't been the consistent elite starter that you want. He's still been good. I mean, since they had with the pine tar, they won't let the pitchers use the sticky stuff. Cole's 19-10 with a 3.83 earned run average, which is still very good.
Oh yeah.
But you want, I think he expects a little more than that. Yeah,
it's like the across-town team. They got Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom, who are two aces that are just, if the Mets can get into the postseason, which I think they will, those two guys could lead them to a World Series. That's how good they are.
Yeah. And I mean, Cole's had a lot of outstanding games this year, but there's been games, he gave up 5 runs. I mean, the other day he gave up 6 runs in the first inning. He settled down after that, but 6 runs in on a big game, you want to win the series at home, and there's been a lot of hiccups.
Yeah, and Cole's last 5 starts, he's 1-2 with an ERA of 4.5, and Tyone, in his last 5 starts, he has an ERA over 5. So those two pitchers, they need to, get back on track.
Yeah, and another thing, Robert, we talked about Severino.
Yeah.
And he wasn't too happy, being put on the 60-day disabled list.
Yeah, in fact, the reports are he was pretty pissed off about it, too.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking since March, how many innings can this guy pitch? At some point, they're going to have to need to shut him down, And, well, they've shut him down all right.
Yeah, because Cashman went through it step by step, his, what they want to do to bring him back. And it seems like they want to shut him down, then flat toss, then bullpen, then batting practice, then a simulated game, and then rehab starts. So they have the organization has a plan of how they want to bring him back. And I think it's more of to give him rest than the injury itself.
Yeah, that's what I think it is. I mean, he's hurt. Maybe it's a week or two thing, but they just want to give him 5-6 weeks off because he's only pitched 12 innings in the major leagues in 3 years, and now they want him to be ready for the postseason.
Yeah, because I was worried before the season started how effective he would be just as the season began. And he pitched a lot better than I thought he was gonna. I mean, he looked like the old Severino. So I'm glad that they're taking it slow, but they need the other guys in the rotation to step up.
Yeah, and I think Cortez has pitched a lot of innings also, and you don't know about Teleon. I think maybe you might even see Clark Schmidt get a start here or there. So I mean. They got the big lead, even though it's shrunk a lot in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
but they got to step it up.
Yeah, Schmidt, in his last 6 innings, has only given up 4 hits, no runs. He's been good, and that guy, Scott Efros, that guy, he's pitched 3 scoreless innings. Yeah, you just don't want to see them have to go to the bullpen, as often as they have been.
Well, I think the thing with Clark Schmidt, they got him in the minors now, and I believe they're trying to build him up, to get him, let him have more innings, maybe give him a couple starts here and there, and because they needed pitching at the trading deadline, and they got a pitcher and they give one up. So I mean,
I
don't know how much, we'll have to see how that plays out, but it's Cashman did a great job with the guys he got in the trades, the trades, but that's a head scratcher, Montgomery.
Yeah, I mean, Montgomery's first start with the Cardinals is against the Yankees, and he throws 5 shutout innings, only giving up 2 hits, and I think he only threw 83 pitches, and the only reason they took him out was because he was cramping a little bit, and they just wanted to be safe. It was precautionary. But he looked good, you know, and he was very effective. Even though his record was only 3-2 in the first half of the season, he didn't get a lot of run support. I mean, his ERA was under 3.5 in the first half of the season. I know his last few starts weren't that great with the Yankees, but he's still effective.
Yeah, well, you know, one of the things, Robert, over the last couple of years, I mean, he gets taken out a lot. You know, after 4 1/3 innings, 4 2/3 innings, when he has a run, he's ahead by a run or two, and you know, I think the last start he might have showed a little displeasure when they took him out in the top of the 5th.
Yeah, even on TV you could see him mouthing to Aaron Boone, why? You know, you could tell he wasn't too happy about it.
And I mean that happened on numerous occasions. I'm not saying there was a a lot of controversy, but there might have been something going on behind the scenes that eventually you want to stay in and get your 5 innings, and you want your wins. I mean, going contract time, that's what's going to show up.
Oh yeah, you know, and I think the Yankees, they're so analytically driven. I think that could have been a reason, or I do think the Yankees, prefer the hard throwers compared to someone like Monty who does a lot off speed.
Yeah, maybe with the analytics they showed something, maybe he was just losing it. Maybe he was losing velocity, or, he wasn't locating his pitches as well. So, that's info that we don't have.
Yeah, but Montgomery, I mean, ever since he's come up, I've liked him. I was been waiting for him to take that next step. Because he does have a lot of good stuff. He does have good stuff. He has like 5 or 6 different pitches he can throw. If he just, he always seems to get in trouble in one inning. He'd walk a couple of batters and give up a big hit. It was always that one inning that always hurt him. But other than that, he was an effective pitcher. I mean, and I just think as he gets older and grows, he's just going to get better and better. So the Cardinals might have gotten themselves a really good pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals will probably be in the playoffs again, and they made a good acquisition getting Montgomery.
Yeah, and the one guy I feel bad for is Miguel Andujar. He's another one that I've always been high on, and he requested a trade earlier in the year, and I was hoping maybe he would get moved this past trade deadline, but he didn't. Maybe Miami would have been a spot for him, like we were talking off air. But it's a shame that he doesn't get a chance to play every day somewhere else. Yeah,
it's the same thing. I mean, he's under contract through next season, and so he'll be getting used the same way. I was thinking maybe, with Gallo getting traded, there was a possibility they would bring up, Andujar and give him a shot.
Yeah, I was surprised they were able to. I mean, the Dodgers took Gallo. I was surprised the Yankees were able to find someone to take him, especially a team like the Dodgers. One of the best teams in the National League took him.
Yeah, I mean, Gallo, I was hoping it would work out because he seems like a nice guy and everything.
Yeah.
But I think what sealed his fate is when he come out and said, I'm not going to make adjustments.
Yeah, that it can't. Yeah, that kind of I've never heard a major league ball player say he can't make adjustments. Yeah, he said, I'm not like a DJ LeMayo. I don't know how to make adjustments, or I can't make adjustments, something to that effect.
And when you hear something like that, I mean, if somebody's working hard, and I'm sure he was working hard, but you've got to change. You got to change your swing, because I mean it got to a point when he'd get in the batter's box, and he couldn't catch up with the ball. It was the same. Yeah. The swing would be in the same spot, and the ball wouldn't even be close to it. So I mean, it was just a sad thing to watch.
It's like, even though in the past he struck out a lot and his average was low, he always seemed to be able to draw walks. This season he wasn't walking. I think he had an on-base percentage under 300. It was 282, and he only batted 159. I mean, he was basically becoming he was a liability at the plate. Yeah,
I mean, the Yankees could have dealt with, the 205 to 210 average if he had 18 homers, 40 RBIs and was walking, but he was just giving you nothing offensively.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm hoping this lineup starts coming around a little bit, because the one team I do fear is Houston. You know, those guys can hit, and they picked up Trey Mancini from the Orioles, and he's a nice addition. He made an impact right away. I think he had 2 home runs and maybe a grand slam in his first game with Houston. So Houston scares me. I'd like to see our lineup, you know, start coming around a little bit, besides Aaron Judge and LeMahieu carrying the weight.
Well, you know, hopefully they can get Rizzo back in the lineup and Stanton. I mean, you know, I think Stanton, what does he have, an Achilles heel problem or something? And you know, they can take a while to heal. And you know, I don't think they're certainly not going to rush him back in the lineup. But
yeah,
you know, they got to start winning some series.
Yeah, because Stanton's due to come off the IL sometime, I think, this week. But like you said, it depends how he's feeling, you know. I mean, if he's not fully healthy, then, you know, that might be extended, or they might have to sit him a little while.
Yeah, because if they bring him back, and he, you know, when he gets back and he's having trouble with his heel and his leg, I mean, can he play the outfield then?
Yeah. I mean, because right now, I mean, you got Judge playing center, and you got Hicks playing left, and I don't know who they've had playing right.
Well, they had Carpenter. They've had Carpenter out there.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, because, like, they got a 3-game series with Seattle, but then they played 3 with Boston, 3 with Tampa, and 4 with Toronto, and then 2 with the Mets. So they got a tough schedule coming up, you know, the next week or two, and they're going to need to start stepping things up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they're coming to an important, you know, stretch during their season. If they don't play better, you know, then you get in September, maybe you only have a 4 or 5 game lead then, and then, you know, the cushion is slowly shrinking.
Yeah, and a big thing was August 2nd was the anniversary of Thurman Munson passing away.
Yeah, I mean, you were saying you never seen him play, Robert? Or you don't remember seeing him play?
I never got to see him play. All I've ever seen was highlights, but I never, you know, I don't know what kind of impact, you know, he had on the team, how important he was, his role. And you've gotten a chance to, you saw him play, right?
Yeah, I mean, I seen Munson's first homer. It was August 10th, 1969, and Mercer hit a homer. And the next pitch, Munson hit a homer. And 3 pitches later, Gene Michael hit a homer.
No kidding.
Yeah. So I seen his first, it was like 3 homers on 5 pitches. And his first hit was August 8th against Catfish. And that was also the weekend that they had the Manson murders.
Wow. Yeah.
So, but the thing I remember on the 2nd, I got home, Robert, and I remember hearing Ralph Kiner mention it on the Met game, because the Mets were playing the Phillies that night in a twilight doubleheader. And it was just, you know, it was terrible. The next night at the stadium, I remember they played the Orioles, and then they were all on the field, and I remember they were all crying, and they left home plate area, you know, vacant.
Yeah.
And also, go ahead, Robert. Sorry.
Oh no, the thing I knew about him was he was a team leader. He was tough. He was gritty, and he was also a great offensive player.
Yeah, he was the real deal. And I mean, he was slowing down a little at the end because he had a lot of injuries. I mean, they had him out in right field. His legs were getting beat up, and you know, and the thing is, Robert, I was at the game on the 6th when Bobby Mercer knocked in all the 5 runs when they beat the Orioles.
Wow. And I think they held his eulogy that morning, right? And I think Steinbrenner flew the whole team out and then back for the game.
Yeah. because, Mercer played left field, and I remember I was sitting in right field, like the lower level, the last couple rows, and Kenny Singleton was playing right field that night for the Orioles and hit a homer. And then in the seventh inning, Mercer hit a 3-run homer that landed probably 20 rows from where I was sitting. And then in the ninth, they left Bobby in against Tippy Martinez. And Tippy was also a Yankee. He was in the big trade with the Orioles, and he was good friends with Thurman. And Martinez was a heck of a pitcher.
Yeah.
And Mercer had trouble hitting him, as a lot of guys did. So he got 2 strikes on him on a curveball. And then Tippy told the story years ago. He says, "Well, this is for Thurman. I'll throw a fastball." and Bobby reached out and hit it to left field. He hit it down the left field line. It was still a good piece of hitting, but they always talk. They said maybe Tippy, he said, "Well, this is for Thurman."
Yeah, because Mercer and Piniella were Munson's best friends and teammates, right?
Yeah, they were together, for at least, when Thurman came up, Bobby was on the team, and then in the early '70s when Lou came over, they were great friends, and when Thurman was going to fly back to be with his family, he asked Bobby and Kay Mercer to fly with him. And, they said, "No, you don't have enough hours with that new plane." And, then that, tragedy happened.
And George Steinbrenner, if I'm right, retired Munson's number immediately, right?
Yeah, they left the locker with Thurman special.
That's right, glassed it up.
And they brought it over to the new place, but that locker was always in the clubhouse with his number in it.
I brought this thing up. It says Yankees owner George Steinbrenner retired Munson's number 15 immediately upon the catcher's death. On September 20th, 1980, a plaque dedicated to Munson's memory is placed in Monument Park. The plaque bears excerpts from an inscription composed by Steinbrenner and flashed on the stadium scoreboard the day after his death. It read, "Our captain and leader has not left us today, tomorrow, this year, next. Our endeavors will reflect our love and admiration for him."
Yeah, I remember going to Yankee games many years after, and every time they showed that on the scoreboard, they'd have something to Thurman. I mean, the fans would just go crazy. And even down here in Steinbrenner Field, where the Tampa Tarpons play and the Yankees have spring training, they have a number 15, like a plaque or a number 15, and you can take pictures of it and you can stand by it. So they have a tribute to Thurman down here also.
Yeah, and I'm reading his locker. Munson's locker was moved in one piece to the new Yankee Stadium. How about that? Yeah,
I mean, unfortunately, Thurman didn't have the hours. He got a brand new plane and he wanted to be with his family.
Yeah.
And we were talking off air when the plane crashed, it was sliding along and it hit a tree stump. And, Thurman was still alive when, this happened, because he asked the 2 guys with him, the co-pilots, if they were all right. And they tried to get him out. But he was paralyzed. They said even if he lived, he would have been like Roy Campanella.
Oh, man.
And I think they removed the tree stump where the plane hit.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah. And I'm reading here, Lou Piniella thought Munson was the greatest competitor he had ever seen. And Tommy John said, "He was the main reason I came to New York. He was an excellent catcher who called an outstanding game." That's the other thing that I heard about Munson was the pitchers loved him.
Yeah, and I mean, he had a great release from behind the plate. He used to get rid of when guys were trying to steal. He would get rid of the ball from all different angles, and he had an incredible release. That's the thing. What made Thurman such an outstanding defensive catcher. That's one of the things.
Yeah, I mean, I knew how tough he was behind the plate, and I pulled up his stats. I mean, he was a career 292 hitter. I mean, he could hit too.
Yeah, I mean, he got a little disenchanted with New York at the end, and he wanted to go to Cleveland, but it's hindsight now. But if he could have been around maybe 2 or 3 more seasons, in 1980 the Yankees were in the playoffs, in 81 they were win the series. If he just could have played maybe 3 or 4 more years and accumulated more stats, he would have been a surefire Hall of Famer. But he was a tremendous catcher. He was one of the best catchers ever.
Yeah, and I see his postseason stats. He batted .357 in the postseason, and including the World Series. He was a great hitter. Batted .320 in one World Series, and batted .529 against Cincinnati, even though they lost that one in '76.
Yeah, I remember they had something when Sparky Anderson come on the mound, and he was talking. Johnny Bench was out there, and they were having. And they go, boy, because Sparky said, boy, that Munson is a tremendous hitter. Boy, he can really hit.
I love Sparky Anderson.
Yeah, he was a great baseball guy.
Yeah. And I remember, who was the manager of the Pirates? Was that Sparky Anderson?
The old manager, they had Chuck Tanner.
Who's the guy in the '90s? Do you remember? Jim Leland. He used to smoke cigarettes. They catch him on camera sneaking a cigarette. I used to love that. I got them confused.
Yeah, he's still, I think, with the Taggart organization, because in spring training you see him down here once in a while. So I still think he's with the Taggers. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I know they named also a street after Thurman Munson in New York. I think they called it Thurman Munson Way.
Yeah.
It was in the East Village on 156th Street in the Bronx. It was named Thurman Munson Way in 1979.
Because they just had the Old Timers Day, and they bring back Mrs. Munson, and Thurman's son was there this year too.
Oh, really?
And his son actually played with the Gulf Coast Yankees, so he did play some games with the Yankees. I think he had about 45, 50 at bats. He might have had a homer or two. He didn't play long, but he was with the team.
Yeah. Well, how about that? I had no clue about that.
Yeah,
did Willie Randolph's son ever play baseball too?
Willie Randolph had a son. I used to go down, Robert, and the team was the Newark Bears. And his son played with the Yankees, but his son played a lot with the Newark Bears. Andre Randolph.
Okay.
And they had Chris Chambliss' son, Russ Chambliss, and they had Barry Bonds' brother played with the team, and the Ozzie and Jose Canseco played, Jim Leyritz, Lance Johnson.
How about that?
It was kind of cool. It was kind of cool.
Yeah. I remember Ozzie Canseco.
Yeah, Ozzie. I remember being down in Newark when Jose played down there, and Robert, Jose hit a home run. It was out of there like in a second. Yeah,
he could hit him.
Oh, it was. If you blinked, you would have missed it. It was incredible.
I think Jose hit one in Seattle on the upper deck one time. I think they said it was like 465 feet, but I mean it was an upper. I mean I never seen a shot like that in Seattle before. The old stadium where they played in. I mean I'm pretty sure it was Seattle. I mean he just crushed it. He could hit some bombs.
Yeah, he could. Let me share a crazy story, Robert.
Yeah.
Ricky Henderson played with the Newark Bears, and then in that September he went to the Dodgers. So I'm there one night with a friend. There was maybe 20 people in the stands. It was the second game of a doubleheader, and we were sitting by the Somerset Patriots dugout. And Sparky Lyle was the manager, and John Montefusco was the pitching coach. So there's a guy and his girlfriend sitting in the second deck in a lounge, and Ricky's up, and Ricky takes ball one. The guy yells, "Be a man, Ricky, swing the bat." Next pitch comes, right? "Ricky, be a man, swing the bat." Third pitch comes, Ricky lets it go. The guy yells, "Ricky, be a man, swing the bat." Ricky gets out of the box and goes, "Shut your mouth, bitch."
No kidding.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I tell you, Ricky, I've never seen a leadoff hitter like Ricky Henderson. I mean, I think he still holds the record for the most leadoff home runs as a leadoff hitter. I mean, he could hit them too.
Yeah, I mean, Ricky was a special player. I mean, when they had him and when the Yankees had Henderson, Don Mattingly, and Winfield, I mean, you had three of the best players in the game.
Yeah, and I mean, Henderson had that, he wasn't a tall guy to begin with, but he had that short batting stance where he bent over, but he was like a spring. When that pitch came, boy, could he knock one out of the park. I've seen him hit, a few at the Yankees that were in the upper deck. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, he was a great ball player, but sometimes Ricky got tired, and when Ricky didn't want to play, Ricky wasn't going to play. So
yeah, there were times in the outfield we could see him lollygagging, and sometimes he would drop the ball. I mean, you could tell he wasn't giving 100% or even 50% for that matter.
Yeah, but in '89 he wanted to get away from the team, and he did.
Yeah. But you're right, that lineup, I mean, Henderson, Randolph, Mattingly, Winfield, I mean, there was a reason we scored the most runs in the 80s. We had, our first four guys in the lineup were just incredible.
Yeah, they had Pags, and they had Baylor, and they had Weiniger, and Danny Pasqua, and...
and what was it 85 where Mattingly and Winfield fought for the batting title?
Yep.
Yeah.
The one year they won 97 games, and they traded Doyle Alexander to Toronto. And the Yankees went up to Toronto for the last three games, and on the second to the last day of the season, Alexander beat the Yankees and knocked the Yankees out of the playoffs. And then Necro won his 300th game the next day. But that's another rough memory from the 80s.
Yeah. Was it Phil Necro who, when the umpires came up to search him, threw the cotton or whatever it was out of his back pocket? Was that him? Or
that was his brother Joe. That was Joe.
Okay, yeah, that was funny as hell. Yeah. But yeah, the Necro brothers, I mean, wow.
Yeah, Joe pitched for the Yankees, too. I remember seeing him pitch at the stadium.
Yeah. But yeah, I would have loved to have seen Munson play, though. I mean, he embodied the Yankees, right? I mean, he was the captain. Yeah,
they had so many, great players then, but they all looked up to Thurman. And even till this day, I mean, it's still great the Yankees, bring Mrs. Munson back and Mrs. Mercer and Whitey Ford's wife, and I think Ellie Howard's wife. So, but, it's a terrible thing to go through. I mean, what Mrs. Munson went through, having kids, just, it's heartbreaking. I mean, anybody's heart bleeds for them. It's a terrible thing to go through.
Yeah, I mean, and they didn't name a captain until Don Mattingly. I don't think they named him captain until the early '90s.
Yeah, it took a while.
Yeah, and I only think they did it because Mattingly, he was another beloved Yankee. But I would. It's shocking. You know, I mean, there's only been a few captains in Yankees history. I mean, Garrick, and I don't know who else after that. Was it Munson, the first captain after Garrick?
Yeah, there wasn't too many, and you know, there was talk about maybe giving Judge, you know, him being a captain if they sign him, they can sign him. And so we'll have to see with that how that plays out.
Yeah, because right now, I mean, he is the face of the Yankees, and he seems to be, you know, the spokesman and leader of that team. You know, and he's, you know, not only the spokesman and leader of that team, but he's also doing it with the bat. So, I mean, yeah, if they sign him to a long-term contract, there could be a chance they name him captain in a couple of years.
Yeah, well, you know, I think Yankee fans, we all hope, you know, they can work something out, because you don't want to lose a guy like that. Because what happens now with so many, you know, players change teams, it's like, you know, you don't have players with the team for a long amount of time. It's like you cheer for the laundry now. Yeah,
the guy's always looking to move to a better city or more pay, legacy, and being one team doesn't mean anything to them anymore.
No, it's tougher to be a fan than it used to be. Not as much fun.
Yeah. No, it's like I used to watch basketball all the time, but now, I mean, guys are changing teams left and right. You know, they don't care about, you know, the jersey they wear. They care about the paycheck and who's going to pay them.
No, and, well, basketball's changed. We should mention, too, Robert, I mean, a big loss last week, you know, one of the greatest basketball players ever, and also one of the, you know, a great human being was Bill Russell.
Oh, yeah, yep. Won 11 championships with the Celtics. I mean, he's a player, coach. I mean, yeah, what a loss.
Yeah, he won 2 in college, and he won an Olympic, Olympic gold medal. I think in final games he won all 21 final games he ever played in to win championships. You know, even in the playoffs when they get to the champ. Yeah, so I mean, he was just incredible. And then he was involved in the civil rights. I mean, you can, you know, anybody can look this up all on YouTube. But you know, Bill Russell was you know, a great person. I used to love when they interviewed him. He was just a lot of fun. He had that great laugh, and
yeah, guys like Bill Russell and Jackie Robinson, the stuff they did off the playing field and court, you know, was remarkable, and people really should, you know, look into the stuff they've done off the playing field.
Yeah, and I mean, he got treated awful in Boston.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he always said, I play for the Celtics. I don't play for Boston.
That's nice. I like that. Yeah.
Well,
being on a team meant something, you know. The uniform meant something.
Yeah, now it's just they change teams all the time, and it's just, you know, it's changed.
Yeah. Yankees in the last 10 games haven't played so well, so hopefully they get off to a better start this week. You know, they play 10 o'clock tonight and tomorrow, but then they have a 4 o'clock game on the 10th against Seattle. But they need to get going because they're going to start facing some teams in their own division, and that lead's starting to shrink just a little bit.
Yeah, you don't want it to get down to 4 or 5 going into September, because then, you know, anything can happen.
Yeah, because right now Toronto, even though they're 9.5 back, the Yankees have 4 games with them coming up. You know, luckily it's at Yankee Stadium where they played really well. You know, so hopefully they can put some more distance between them when they play. Yeah,
they just, well, hopefully get Rizzo back and Stanton, and you know, they've had chances to win most of the games. I mean, they're not getting blown out, but they're not getting that big hit, and they're not getting a big out, and it doesn't take much to go on a bad streak. Yeah, because I think the Yankees and Dodgers both have the best records at home. I mean, Yankees are 41-15 at home.
So, I mean, they play really well at home. So hopefully, you know, they can pick up some wins. Because I think, they're at Seattle, then they're at Fenway, and then they come home for 3 against Tampa, 4 against Toronto, and 2 against the Mets.
Well, you keep saying it. They just got to start winning. They got a tough road ahead of them.
Yeah, they need their starters to be a little bit more effective, and hopefully some of the guys in the lineup to come out with some big hits now and then.
Well, we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. Well, hopefully next week when we talk, the Yankees will, put this losing streak behind them and start a winning streak instead.
Yep. Look forward to it, Robert.
Okay, Jack. So same time next week?
Yep, sounds good. You have a great week.
Oh, you too. And to our listeners, we'll see you next week.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.